Spending 36,000 rupees on a smartphone today drops you into the most competitive segment in tech. Picking the wrong piece of hardware means living with daily friction, a battery that dies by 5 p.m., or a camera that constantly misses the shot. Xiaomi is challenging the mid-range status quo with the new Redmi Turbo 5. Their strategy is aggressive. They are taking specifications usually locked behind a 60,000 rupee price tag and dropping them into a much more accessible tier. The hype surrounding this phone comes down to two specific specs: a Dimensity 8500 Ultra processor and a 7540 mAh battery. But manufacturing physics and profit margins remain constant. To put flagship numbers into a 36,000 rupee chassis, Xiaomi made specific calculated cuts to the rest of the experience. This quadrant chart plots out the modern smartphone market. We have price on the bottom axis and the balance between processing power and camera hardware on the vertical axis. The Turbo 5 drops perfectly into the extreme top left corner. Sitting in that isolated corner signals a total prioritization of speed over versatility. It moves the device away from the all-rounder category and into the realm of a highly specialized tool. Buying this phone based strictly on the processor and battery numbers on the box, without accounting for the specific trade-offs on the other side of that chart, often leads to immediate buyer's remorse. The decision hinges on whether your daily routine can absorb the physical and creative compromises required to unlock that level of hardware. Let's break down the performance equation. This three-column matrix shows the path from silicon to the hand. In the left column, we have our input, the Dimensity 8500 Ultra chipset, paired with a 3D ice loop cooling system. That combination pushes an Antutu benchmark score well over 2.1 million. Moving to the middle column, that benchmark translates to high-end stability. The phone holds a sustained 120 frames per second with 81% CPU stability. However, maintaining that output for extended periods generates significant heat. That leads to the third column, the trade-off. The cooling system pulls heat to the outer glass, reaching roughly 42 degrees Celsius, enough to feel warm. This heat transfer is the cooling system working perfectly. Moving thermal energy to the surface prevents throttling, keeping the game locked at 120 frames is viewed through a 6.59-inch, 1.5K OLED display. With 120 Hz and a peak brightness of 3500 nits, the screen hardware keeps pace. The phone provides flagship-tier gaming for a mid-range price, but you pay for it by accepting a physically warm device. The battery specification is equally extreme. Xiaomi fit a massive 7540 mAh cell right into this mid-range frame, prioritizing raw capacity over everything. To manage that capacity safely, they use a dual-chip system supporting 100-watt fast charging, balancing speed with long-term battery health. They also included 27-watt reverse-wired charging. This allows the phone to act as a high-speed power bank for wireless earbuds. In practice, that massive capacity provides over 7 hours of active screen-on time. For most users, that means a reliable day-and-a-half of use without a charger. But high-capacity batteries have significant physical mass. The Turbo 5 weighs 204.7 grams, a noticeable jump from standard phones. It feels substantial in the pocket, causing hand fatigue during long use. To protect that battery, the phone uses a metal glass sandwich design with Gorilla Glass 7i and an IP68 rating. It survives heavy drops and submersion. You gain multi-day battery life and water resistance, but pay for it with physical bulk during every interaction. To provide a flagship processor and an oversized battery at 36,000 rupees, the budget had to be removed from other areas. On the back, you'll find a basic dual sensor array, a 50-megapixel main lens, and an 8-megapixel ultrawide. The primary sensor handles social media photos and 4K video at 60 frames per second with decent clarity. However, there is no optical zoom or telephoto lens. If your photography requires capturing subjects from a distance, your creative options are limited. The 20-megapixel selfie camera is another compromise, hard-capped at 1080p. For vloggers relying on the front-facing camera, the lack of 4K is a significant hurdle. The software experience follows a similar pattern. The Turbo 5 runs HyperOS 3.0. The long-term support is a clear positive, 4 years of OS updates and 6 years of security patches. The trade-off is the initial setup. The phone arrives with pre-installed third-party apps, bloatware requiring manual uninstallation. These camera and software limits are the intentional compromises that keep the flagship-tier processor at a mid-range price. The Redmi Turbo 5 is a polarized piece of engineering. Its value depends entirely on which parts of a smartphone you prioritize in your daily life. This decision tree maps the two distinct paths this phone creates. Your primary use case determines the branch you follow. On the left is the ideal user. If you spend hours in heavy games, travel frequently without a power bank, or prioritize frame rates, this branch leads to a clear purchase. On the right is the poor fit. If your day involves high-quality portrait photography, 4K vlogging, or a lightweight device, this phone will likely be a source of frustration. For users on the gaming and endurance path, this 35,999 rupee configuration offers more frames per second and milliamp hours for the price than any current market option. But for those on the camera path, the 204-gram weight and the absence of a zoom lens will be felt long after the novelty of the processor wears off. Buying the right device means looking past the marketing hype to find the tool that actually fits the way you live. You now have the framework to decide if the raw power of the Turbo 5 is the right investment for your pocket. Keep thinking clearly, and we'll see you in the next one.